driveway's so icy cold it was telling yo mama jokes as I walked across it. Oh yeah? Well, yo mama's fat too. I'm about tired of this free trial of Alaska. Are you broke? Do the banks look at you like some kind of joke? Are you like me with a really low credit score? I'll be the first to admit I've got a really low credit score because I don't play kissy face with the bank. I'm 41 years old, no mortgage, no credit card debt. Everything's paid for but my truck. So literally the banks will not give me a good number because I'm not playing kissy face with them. So if you're like me, you don't like debt. Do you want a free project vehicle? Well, dadgummit, I'm going to show you how I got Goldie here for free. Goldie is a 2002 Chevrolet Blazer. It's two-door, two-wheel drive. It is rust-free, it is straight, and it has not been wrecked. So how did I get this thing for free? Well, quite frankly, nobody wheeled it to me. I did not just find it on the side of the road. I purchased this with my own money, and by being resourceful, I am at a net zero on my project vehicle. Everybody needs a project to keep them going. Whether it's scratching your mechanical itch or your artistic side, let's paint a pretty little frame rail. Let's look this thing over and I'll tell you how I got it cheap. So one day I was over at my buddy's house and he says, hey man, my son blew up the transmission in his Blazer. He said, we're gonna be getting rid of it. I asked, well, how much do you want for it? He says, I don't know, $500-600. And well, dadgummit, the thing just looked so good. I couldn't even be bothered to shuffle my feet. I give this thing a good old 12-foot look over. And I said, done deal. So we struck up a price. I'm effectively in this thing for $500. Why did I hold up two hands? For $500. So being in this thing for $500, I have my own trailer. So when I hauled it home, what was I in it? Boom, being resourceful. I hauled the thing myself. So $0 transportation fee. So now what you're going to notice is the front clip is gone. The engine and transmission are out of this thing. The reason I pulled the front clip is because I needed this fender out of the way. I was going to modify the air box and go ahead and start getting ready for the LS swap. But now this thing had a good running 4.3 liter engine. Yes, sir. She runs. Say, hot dog diggity dog.
Hot dog diggity dog.
I started this thing in a previous video and saw that it ran, and I used that video to place this motor on Marketplace. When I put that motor on Marketplace, I listed it for $500. Why? Because I was going to want somewhere around $450, or if somebody came to me with $500, it was gone. So I did sell this motor for $450. So now I only have $50 to recoup. So with $50 to recoup, I had my fingers crossed that this thing had a good catalytic converter in it. Well, that catalytic converter turned out to be empty. This thing had just enough mileage on it that the brick had disintegrated and just came out the tailpipe. So this catalytic converter wasn't worth $1. So where did I find my other value? Well, quite frankly, my older son, he needed his sound system installed. So there was a set of wires in here. There's a fuse holder, the big amp wire, signal wire, RCA wires, and a set of speakers that were already in this thing, aftermarket. That proved to be worth $100. So at this point, I owe the Blazer $50. So this thing is sitting in my garage in a state of disrepair for negative $50. You can't get any better than that. So now at this point, I have taken and installed a couple of parts that are starting to build. This is going to be naturally what you're going to do as you're getting your project. We're just talking about a blank slate here. The more you put into that project, the more money you're going to have cash outlay. But that's just it. It's cash outlay. We're not using a credit card. We're not going into debt. We're not asking grandma for money. We're going to be resourceful. We're going to go scratch the junkyards and all of that and find the LS motor we want to swap into this thing. So now you can see right here on the windshield, cats keep climbing up and down this thing. I'm going to have to invest in something to get rid of these cats and keep them off of my project vehicle so it'll stay nice until I can get it done. But now in a previous video, to make room for this LS swap, I used the Hooker Blackheart evaporator side cover, this AC side cover. I picked this up for about, I want to say it was like $150 52 shipped or something like that, because quite frankly what I want to do is I want to retain my air conditioning, I want to retain fuel injection, I want all the creature comforts. We're going to have power steering, power brakes, all of the good stuff. So this thing is just going to be a really good looking, good running vehicle with zero debt. That is going to feel really good cruising around in something on the weekends or Friday night or whenever, or taking this thing on a road trip and just knowing that I'm not having to spend any more time paying for it. That's what it is. Some people, they're like, oh, I only got this car, it was only $23,000. No, you take that $23,000 and divide it by your hourly paycheck, your hourly income after taxes, and you'll figure out that you've got, I don't know, 4,000 hours tied up in this thing. You can't get that time back. The next thing I got here, Christmas was just over with, so I wound up with some Dirty Dingo motor mounts. These Dirty Dingo motor mounts are for the Blazers with the raised perches. So I am going to have a nice, good set of motor mounts. Now, the cool thing about this is a friend of mine sent me a gift card to Amazon. I really do not like Amazon, but guess what they have? They have Dirty Dingo motor mounts. So simply enough, boom, those Dirty Dingo motor mounts cost me effectively nothing. So yes, money was spent on the motor mounts. I'm going to count that onto the rolling total of this once I get it done, even though it literally cost me nothing. You know, at this point, I might be like $100 into this thing. So far, I'm looking really good. So I am going to wind up, you know, we're going to clean this thing up, clean the frame rails up, get them all painted up nice. I'm going to rebuild the suspension, which, matter of fact, on Facebook Marketplace right now, I found a whole front end rebuild for this thing for $150. He's bought it, sold the vehicle, doesn't need it. I'm betting I could probably get those for like a snazzy $1.25, save some money, we'll see. So hopefully we can do that. So now, this right here isn't just an isolated event. I actually went on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to show you my screen. And on Facebook Marketplace, I have found a couple of projects just like this that you could get into. So what are we talking about with being resourceful here? So what we've got is we have a 2003 Chevrolet Blazer Extreme Sport. He was asking $2,500, now he's only asking $550. So that brings this right into the wheelhouse here. Now apparently this thing runs and drives. What does that mean? You're looking at potentially having a good motor and a good transmission. Looks like we got a decent set of tires on here, we got a decent set of wheels, so we can sell that stuff. Now the front end parts on this thing are missing, but you can actually find a whole front end on this thing, the grille and the headlights, for like $178. So that's really not expensive. So this one right here, you can be in this one for a net negative just like me. Now we have found another one right here. A 1994 Chevrolet S10 long bed, $400. Now, the obvious thing here is the windshield's knocked out, so hopefully the windshield hasn't been knocked out for a long time and you won't have to have a bunch of money into the interior. But it says has no transmission. Everything else is good condition. The windshield and the back glass is busted. Parts truck. So now it's $400. Look at those wheels. Those wheels might be able to recoup you some of your $400 and get you into some new glass and, you know, start making your repairs there. So it says no transmission, everything else is in good condition. That says to me this thing might have a good running little 4-cylinder in it or V6 in it. I'd say this one's probably a 4-cylinder truck, but either way, that one right there could be a net negative if you play your cards right. It doesn't hurt that I found a whole baggie full of coins and 2 wrenches. I'm sitting pretty. So there are 3 perfect examples of how to get a free or cheap project vehicle. Like I said, at the first, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money, but then you're going to start figuring out what you don't need, what you can salvage off of it, what you can sell, and you'll wind up sitting pretty just like me. Y'all take care. We'll see you next video. I love you. Man, I love old Goldie.